Welcome back to Two Small Biz Guys with Zen Benefiel and
Ray Silverstein.
Hey, the technology is working. Ray's in the Windy City tonight, and brr, I don't envy you at all.
You're right. It's very brr.
Yeah.
But we can bury this type of thing. It's so brr. So.
Right. Well, at least you learn how to watch the lake freeze, I suppose.
Yeah, that's right. I was standing there looking out the window and watching the lake freeze, which is kind of interesting. It's like watching paint dry.
Yeah, like talking about business in some cases. Well, we do our best to liven things up, and tonight, to help us liven things up, we welcome George Vodin. George, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much. I hope I'm not going to be like watching paint dry.
Well, we'll make sure of that. That's why that's the two small biz guys with the wit and wisdom. We'll keep you live and happy.
But that's also, George, why you're in the framing business, because you like to see dry paint.
Oh.
Well, I guess that's true.
That was really a framed comment.
Oh.
Here we go.
You're worse than puns than I am.
Yeah, well, I'm just so punny. So, George, I was reading over your background. You've got some really interesting things. You started out with great books in Western World, part of Encyclopedia Britannica, the Burgundy Room, being in electronics and Marines, and then helping Rightway get started. So I'd kind of like to talk a little bit initially about, getting to know you first, and of course. And I'm curious how you got the Burgundy Room started.
Well, my parents had a restaurant on the south side of Chicago, and my father passed away when I was very young. And my mother wanted to keep the business going. It was open 24 hours a day, and the neighborhood was changing, and I had wanted her to get out of there. So my father had built this beautiful dining room before he passed away, joining our restaurant, and I converted it to a lounge. And the first night I remember we took in $5, and I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I got my mother in a big jam here. But
that's enough to make you want to drink, I think.
Right. Or become a lounge lizard and crawl away.
But anyway, I was underage, and we had an agreement with the police department. As long as I didn't go behind the bar, I could run it. And a fellow I knew, he and I would go out to these different lounges and promote the place. And we had the first, I think, disc jockey ever in Chicago. Mr. M and Miss Dee Dee would spin records at night. And within a short period of time, it became one of the busiest spots on the south side. I'm giving away my age, but I remember after the fight with Floyd Patterson, Sonny Liston came into our lounge, and he was celebrating, and so it was quite popular. But and that my mother wanted to keep the place because, of course, things were really doing well. But the reason I started it was so that she could get out of there. So a friend of mine had joined the Marine Corps, and I thought, oh well, if I join the Marine Corps, she can't stop me, and if I leave, then she would have to sell the place. So I did that, and
forced
it worked
exit,
out
huh?
that way. Yeah. So that was the beginning of that.
So, George, when you opened the lounge and it was so successful, you didn't have to sing for your supper anymore. That's why you had the disc jockey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice try. Well, what that proves to me anyway is that even at a young age, you really had the entrepreneurial spirit. You knew what to do, how to do, and you got over the fear of actually going out and making things happen and did what you needed to.
Sure. Yeah, and I guess I'm an explorer. I don't mind delving into things, and of course sometimes you have to learn rather quickly. The old saying, it's to quicken the dead. So
sure.
I picked up on things pretty quickly.
Throw you in the deep end.
Yeah.
So, George, what made you want to go into framing, the frame type of business? I mean, that's completely different than your background in restaurants and so forth.
Absolutely. Yeah, I knew nothing about art. I tell people it's funny where life takes you if you give it a chance. I was a commodity broker, And one weekend, with nothing better to do, I went to an art auction nearby, and I observed that things were being sold for a lot of money, and eventually they got to things in the back room, and by that time the crowd had dwindled, and things were being sold for a pittance. So I started buying. I ended up going home with a 20-foot truck loaded up with art and framing material, not having any idea what I was going to do with it. And like a Spielberg movie, I was emptying out the garage and putting everything in there. And I started doing art shows to sell some of my booty, and I realized early on that people will only focus on something for a short period of time, and then their mind moves on to other things. So I thought if I could use a little handheld computer to do some of the calculating, it would expedite the process and make it easier to make a sale. And so I started tinkering. And
so what do you mean by that? How did you consider that making it easier by using the computer?
Well, there's
was it measurements or cutting angles or instructions?
Cutting angles, and also there's a lot of different choices. For example, there's over 2,000 different mats that you can use with it. There's different treatments that you can use when you're framing something.
Mm-hmm.
There's many different. We display over 4,000 molding samples now in our location. So there's a lot of different choices, and all of that requires a lot of calculating. And so right now we're in the third generation of that handheld computer.
So is that what FancyArt NFP? Does that mean no freaking problem?
Actually, it means not fancy prices. But,
okay.
I like your way too.
Yeah.
So it does 1,000 calculations and in background, and this makes it easy for the customer to tweak it to their taste and their budget. Framed art is in every home and every office, but most people have never done custom framing, and I believe it's because the perception is that it's difficult to do and that it's very expensive. So with the concepts and innovations we've created, we've made it fun and easy, and once people discover that they can create a personal masterpiece at a reasonable price, it's like Build-A-Bear Workshop for grown-ups. They love it, and they want to do it again and again and again.
Mm-hmm. Now, how did you develop the software to do that? Were you mostly doing the programming yourself, or did you have some folks helping you out?
Yeah, the original program I did by myself, and it was written in BASIC. And if you're familiar with BASIC, it's very unforgiving. Many nights I would stay up the entire night because I couldn't figure out where a comma was, or some little detail.
Right. Well, it was a little better than Fortran.
Yeah. But I developed this in the early '90s, and I thought afterwards, that was before the term app had even been coined,
mm-hmm.
and so I guess I was a little bit ahead of the curve there. But anyway, it works very well, and we're very happy with it.
So your premise was that by people being able to pick out their framing, making it less costly, therefore they can enjoy their own home environment or office environment a lot more because it was made more to their liking.
Exactly. We're all creative, and we all like to. We live in an image-conscious society,
and we like to pick and choose.
If a picture's worth 1,000 words, then we know in our hearts that the art that we have says a lot about our lifestyle and values, and so this allows people to create something personal for their taste, and art is something that is very personal. It's something that touches your heart.
So you went from doing these, I'll call them outdoor shows or weekly shows, to opening a store. What made you want to change the environment and go to a store?
Well, when I completed this program, I spent over a year doing it. But at the end, I kind of backed into it. The light went on in my head. I said, gee, with this, almost anybody could do picture framing. It would make a good franchise. And so that's when I opened the first store, and I transitioned from trading to being an entrepreneur in the art and framing industry.
So how long ago was that when you opened your first store?
The first store was opened in 1995.
And when did you open the second store?
In 2002. By that time, I had developed many other innovations, and I had to have a satellite location to work out all the bugs to make sure that everything was performing properly. And so that's when we opened our second store.
So your premise of framing is really different than the normal frame shop due to technology and innovation.
Yes. For example, with that handheld computer, I've had as many as 150 orders in it at one time, so it's very powerful. But once the order's completed, then it's put in a cradle, and the order is transferred over the Internet to a local hub. And at the hub, that's where most of the work is done.
Speaking of work getting done, gentlemen, we're going to take a short break here, and we'll be right back with more from George Vodin, Ray Silverstein, and myself, Zen Benefield. We'll be right back. What is your dream? Do you want to achieve it? Do you know how? What if you did? Zen Benefield is the Chief Possibilities Coagulator with Be the Dream, Transformational Life Coaching, and Professional Services. He'll help you put your dream to paper and process, removing the liabilities, limitations, and excuses in your challenge to change. Changing your outlook and perspectives opens your experience to opportunity and success. Visit BeTheDream.com and make an appointment with Zen. You'll be amazed with the results. Offering insight, practical advice, and opportunity for coaching and consulting from their years of real-world experience and understanding. Two small biz guys hit the airwaves with wit and wisdom, exploring small business with a couple of characters in the community, or caricatures as the case may be. Ray and Zen, that is, Mondays at 8 p.m. These guys are passionate about helping entrepreneurs and small business owners explore opportunities, meet challenges, and transform concepts to reality. Two small biz guys, Mondays at 8 p.m. Are you a small business owner looking for education and information and don't have time for school? Is there an area of your business you'd like to know more about but aren't sure where to go or who to ask? Practical Biz U is an online repository of small business courses now available to you on the web. There are single class options, bundles for specific areas, and monthly memberships for ongoing learning opportunities. Go to practicalbizu.com and sign up today. And welcome back with George, Ray, and Zen. If we had four, we could almost be a quartet. So, George, we were talking about your workload being transferred from your computer through the hub into your production system. And,
sure.
That's one thing that a lot of folks really aren't familiar with. And business owners sometimes are, but they don't really know how to put that into a process. So, if you could explain that a little bit to our listeners and kind of what your bottlenecks were.
Is by funneling everything to a central source, it allows us to, it gives us economies of scale so that we have more buying power, we can be more efficient with production, there's less waste, and so therefore we can be very competitive. As an example, we have a marketing piece. We took the same picture, we framed it, then we went to Fast Frame and asked them to frame it. They're a franchise. And then we went to Michael's with a 50% off coupon and asked them to frame it as close to ours as possible. Our price for framing it was $146 and change. Fast Frame charged us $273. And Michael's, with the 50% off coupon, charged us $264. So we do have a competitive advantage. The other advantage to the franchisee, it means that they don't have to buy a lot of expensive equipment. They don't have to have the learning curve to learn how to use it. They don't have to have the employees that would normally be doing that work. So they can spend more time on marketing and enjoying their gallery.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that you were able to reduce your costs by increasing the volume?
Yes. Yeah, by funneling everything to a central source.
Right.
So, George, are you basically saying that a franchisee really doesn't have to do the framing per se, but they're just really a gallery that does a showroom and the selling,
right,
the measurements and all the customer relations, and everything is funneled to a hub that does the work for them?
Most of the work, yes. The app, for example, I mentioned it does 1,000 calculations. It's menu driven, so it just asks questions of the operator and the customer, and it takes them through the process in a logical fashion, and at the end it tells them what the price is, and then they go forward from there. During the break, I heard on one of the spots it says, "What is your dream?" Mm-hmm. And it made me think. I think most people would like to own their own business, but they shy away from it, I think, because they don't feel they have the knowledge, and so they lack confidence and have the fear of failure. For that reason, we created a website. It's called franchiseuniversity.com. The U is spelled Y-O-U. And we created a piece. It's an excerpt from one of the lessons, the 5 Essentials for Your Business Success. And it's available at bit.ly/bizguys. That's in lowercase, B-I-Z-G-U-Y-S. So it's bit.ly/BIZGUYS.
Oh, shoot, you should have put a 2 in front of that. So we will have those links up on the website as a show follow-up when we post the show on our website at twosmallbizguys.com.
So George, when they go there, what do they really learn, or what is? Because you mentioned the dream, and people have the dream that they want to be in business, and sometimes the complexity is too much for them. So your format is really to simplify matters.
Yes.
In a franchise way.
In this excerpt, it's titled "The 5 Essentials for Your Business Success," and very quickly, the 5 essentials are: find something that's interesting and motivating, look for a big market with broad appeal, return on investment, what makes this franchise different, and consider the product's staying power. In other words, it's not going to become obsolete over time. So it goes into more detail in it, but you can look over that, and then if you want, you can take the course. It's free, and you can go through it in an hour's time, and of course, once you've completed the course, you can always go back and review anything in there. And we created it to help people. Perhaps not. You might not want to go into our franchise, but there's over 3,000 franchises out there, something in every field. And so to find something that you would be happy with. And this will give you the knowledge so that you can make smart business choices and move forward with your dreams.
So when you went into business, did you follow those precepts that you produced, that you talked about, to really have a passion?
Did you walk your talk?
Yeah, I think so. As I said, I had no knowledge or interest in art prior to this, but I soon realized, I believe that this is one of the very few, if not only, sectors that is underdeveloped and not fully mature.
Now, was it because you really enjoyed the art, or was it because you found a problem to solve?
I found a problem to solve. I enjoy working with people. I'm in an environment. I'm surrounded by beautiful artwork and soft music, and I have a clientele who are cultured. They appreciate the finer things of life, and they have the discretionary income to afford them. Mm-hmm. So
you can do a lot of things when you have the money to do so, and a lot of it is just enjoying yourself and having fun and surrounding yourself with those things.
The other thing too is, when you're working with the customer, it's very creative, and you're creating something that they're going to enjoy for years and years. And every job is different, so it never becomes mundane.
Sure. Now, speaking of the creative process, I totally agree with you. I was a musician, still am, but not quite so much anymore. And the creative process is just so exciting when, everybody's engaged in it. And it takes you into a completely different arena than we normally experience. What's been your... what did you notice that most of all in how your customers moved into that place of creativity? Were they always, did they have things in mind? Did you have to kind of nudge them along and show them that, yeah, you got more options than what you thought you might have had? Or, how did you do it?
Well, I tell my associates.
How do you do it?
Yeah, I tell my associates I feel their job is to be a cheerleader. When people first come in, never having done framing before, they're a little inhibited about, trying different things and so on. So by encouraging them and guiding them and allowing them to express themselves, pretty soon they become relaxed and have fun with it. For example, one of the quips I'll tell customers, and it's true, is it's only when you compare that you make the best choice by trying a few different things. And then I follow up with that by saying, of course, I told a girl I was dating that once and she didn't appreciate it.
Oh, she shouldn't compare. That's interesting. George, why do you feel the market is underserved? And why do you think there's such a big opportunity?
Okay. It's something that is every home and office. As I mentioned, we live in an image-conscious society, and the art that we have does say a lot about our lifestyle and values. It's a big-ticket item. It's an underserved sector. It's not like, a quick-service restaurant where you go to any busy intersection and you got a dozen different choices to choose from. You have to search high and wide to find a good framer. And once you do, provided they've done good work for you, you stick with them. You're loyal to them.
So when you say it's underserved, I understand the demand, but don't people ought to buy art already framed, or do you think it's better to buy it unframed than do it yourself?
Yes. You can go to Walm for your art, or you can create something to your personal taste and budget.
Well, a lot of times in the galleries, and I might be incorrect, but a lot of them that I visit, oftentimes the paintings are not framed.
Right. We have 10,000 artworks in each of our galleries, and we have a lending policy. We'll let people borrow the artwork, try it in their setting, make sure it works for them before they commit to it. So we try to set people at ease in every way that we can. And it's not just art that they're buying from us. For example, we have what's called a Giclée printer, and from a digital image, we can print on canvas and make it any size. And people will email me pictures that they've taken on their iPhone when they were on vacation. And it's a nice way to take that personal memory and turn it into a work of art.
Yeah, so you're taking silk screening to a completely new level.
Yes.
So what you're saying is that you give people the opportunity to really to fashion their environment to their own liking all the time. And do you get excitement from this, or do you feel like you have to look for people having excitement, or what?
Well, I get a warm feeling from it. Yeah, it makes me feel good that I've helped them, and you can see the glow on their face when they come and take the finished product. It's something that they're taking pride in. It's something that many times it's a family picture, or it's someplace special that they've been to, or you name it. I've framed thousands of different things.
Well, and what I hear you saying too with the process that you're going through is your lending policy actually builds that trust and rapport almost instantly, because that's something that doesn't normally happen. Well, it may happen on the high end, but speaking of high end, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with you. Thanks for listening.
As a business owner, do you ever feel alone? I'm Ray Silverstein, founder of Pro Presidents Organization. A Pro Peer Advisory Board meeting takes away that feeling of being alone by giving you support, insight, and experience. You get this from your peers, other business owners who have resolved the issues that keep you awake at night. A Pro Peer Advisory Board is a confidential meeting of non-competitive business owners facilitated by me. I have owned and sold several businesses. I have walked in your shoes. I will be your mentor and tormentor, moving you ahead to achieve your goals. To a sample of free Pro President's meeting, email Ray at ProPres, that's R-A-Y at PROPRES.com. A Pro Peer Advisory Board meeting takes away that feeling of being alone by giving you support, insight, and experience. Email Ray at ProPres, that's R-A-Y at PROPRES.com. There is no charge or no commitment to attend.
And welcome back with George, Ray, and Zen. And we broke on talking about building trust amongst your clientele. And George, you know, I think this is one of the largest areas of concern that most business owners have, small, medium, and large, that this process of building trust with your customers so you have them not just for now, but tomorrow, next week, and even next year. So how have you found that process? What are the key elements in it for you that you've found throughout your business endeavors? Because I'm sure that you just didn't find it overnight.
Sure. Well, I think with many businesses, particularly in retail, products become a commodity, and there's lots of competition, and the greater the competition, the slighter the margins, the smaller the margins are, and it becomes mechanical. There is no close relationship between the customer and the provider. Again, this is one industry I don't believe will ever become obsolete. As long as you have walls in your home, you're going to want to have
art levers aren't going to go away.
Right. And if you ever walk into a room where there is
even
no
though art's been taken
wall,
out of our schools, which is not really something we can enjoy, but anyway.
The other thing too that I thought about during the break is, you know, you said you started in 1988. I started in 1995. We went through the .com bubble and the housing bubble. When I first started in the business, one of the first questions I asked myself is, what happens when there's an economic downturn? And my answer to myself was, well, if people are going out less, they're going to be entertaining more in their homes, and they're going to have it looking nice when friends and family come over. And that's been borne out. Also, when people were selling their homes, they were coming to me and buying art so that they could
spruce it up
properly,
right,
to make the bright appearance. So this is a business that in good times and bad times, it's rewarding.
So, George, what type of person do you think would have an interest in being in this type of frame business, or is it really artistic, or do they have to have a selling experience? What is kind of both the demographic and the psychographic?
Yeah, how would you frame that answer?
Oh,
sure. Thank you.
Picture
Thank
this.
you, Zach.
You're welcome.
Actually, one of the reasons I think that this industry has never taken off is because typically the type of person who's attracted to it are artists, and not individually, but as a group, they tend to be introspective. Whenever I travel, I'll visit art galleries, and seldom, if ever, will anyone even approach me. Usually they peek out from behind a corner as if to say, why are you bothering me? Go away. So I'm looking for people who are sociable, who enjoy interacting with others. They have to have good math skills and speaking skills, and to be patient with people, to work with them and to help them. So,
is there any particular industry or skills transferred from one industry to another? Like, for instance, you know, you came out of selling books, right, for Encyclopedia Britannica. That takes a special personality, getting along with people and having to introduce them and walk them down the sales corridor, if you will.
Sure.
So educators, do you find or is there a specific industry?
The other trait that they would have to have with any franchise is they have to be able to follow a system. and like that. One of the greatest.
So you're saying a little more military background, huh?
One of the greatest attributes. Well, military is good, yes.
Sure.
But one of the greatest attributes of a franchise is consistency. That no matter where you go, you're going to expect the same type of service and product quality.
Yeah. You get the same McDonald's burger here as you do in Shanghai.
Yeah. Now, there are individuals who would rather start up their own business, and that's fine and good, but they have to go through the trial and errors, the making of mistakes along the way, and perfecting it. With a franchise, you're buying a system where the system has been developed and proven in the marketplace.
All the bugs are taken out.
Yeah. And you have guidance, you have a coach, if you will, to help you. You have training, you have the use of their trademarked name. So that there are many advantages to it, but it's not for everybody.
Now, when somebody becomes a franchisee, do they get an operation manual? Do you give them training?
Oh, sure.
Or do they say, here's the key, go do it yourself? So if I was interested, what would you do to help me?
Yeah. There's 1 week of training at our corporate facility. And there is an operational manual that's about 2 inches thick. After that 1 week of training, and after they've opened their location, then we'll go out and work with them at their location for a week, so that this will refresh them and to get them started on the right foot. And
it really doesn't matter how much you read or study until you have the direct experience of it and find out, kind of find your own way through it, situations you run into, the kinds of challenges that you might have, and you guys
Sure.
have enough of experience to be to have a watchful eye, so to speak, so that
Right.
when those times come up, you can say, hey, try this.
Right. And also, since the hub is local, in other words, there would be satellite locations with, let's say, a 30 to 50 mile radius of the hub. You always have an expert at the hub who can answer any problems that you might have or help you in any way that's necessary.
Now, are these all physical locations, or can they actually order online?
Well, that's the other advantage of this business. Thank you, Zen.
You're welcome.
Is that many retail businesses have gone out of business because so much is taken over by the internet.
Mm-hmm.
But framing,
Yeah, they're still trying to be brick and mortar when the
Right.
true new business is a click and mortar.
right? Framing is a touchy-feely thing. People want to see the colors, the textures, the proportion of size,
Mm-hmm.
and you just can't get a good feel for that on a computer screen. Also, shipping, on most artwork you have glazing or glass in front of it, and when you ship it, can't help them, but UPS and FedEx they don't always give the
Treat them
care to
gently.
things. Yeah. So no, I think that this will always require a brick and mortar. What we've done is melded the best of brick and mortar with the internet
Mm-hmm.
by having that hub and spoke system.
Right. Now, social media wise, what kind of stuff do you do?
Well, we're just redeveloping our website, FancyArtNFP.com, and that should be up within the new site. It's up now, but the new version will be up within a week or so.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have Franchise University. We have a presence on LinkedIn and the other social media sites, and we're starting to do some radio advertising as well.
Okay.
But our
Hence your
greatest,
presence here.
our greatest publicity though is word of mouth. Think about it. When someone buys an artwork, it's going to be put in a prominent place in their home or office, and provided you've done a good job with it, it becomes a focal point of conversation.
Sure.
I've had people come to us from over 100 miles away because they've heard of or seen something that we had done for a friend of theirs.
Right. Well, I would personally think that in addition to that face-to-face word of mouth, seeing the picture up and things like that, with the way social media works, that the sharing, folks that are proud of what they have, snapping a photo, making a little comment about it, putting on, Facebook or Google Plus or even LinkedIn, and especially Twitter or Instagram or Pinterest or those kinds of things. Are you encouraging your clients to do that yet?
Yeah, we're nibbling at on Facebook. I
know that's a whole new realm for most people, and especially business owners, because they've been focused on, the brick and mortar, and even with the click and mortar, it's still a lot of face to face, and they don't realize really what the power of social media can be.
Yes, and as you know better than most, there's so many new things out there. There's always something coming.
I've been trying to find that guy named Most.
But just about the time you think you've got something nailed down, a new version comes out, and you got to start all over again with it. So it's interesting. I'll put it that way.
Basically, isn't that part of the franchisor
It is part of the franchise, yes.
To keep ahead of the curve and help the franchisee know what's coming down the pike and be able to have a solution for them, and
yes.
kind of work in concert.
Yes, we'll help them with their marketing, but a little different take on it too. Rather than just the shotgun approach. For example, one of the things we do is we'll have an artist showing. In our gallery, we have a piano, and we'll have a pianist come in. We'll have some hors d'oeuvres and showcase the work of an artist, and it's a nice social gathering. It's a way for the community to come together.
Have you ever thought of doing that on Periscope? Do you know what I'm talking about? Periscope's a feature that you can use with Twitter that will actually send a live video feed out across the internet, and you'd be surprised how many people that can attract. Speaking of attracting people, we're going to break again for just a few commercial messages, and we'll be right back with you for our last segment. Thanks again for listening. And welcome back from those messages. George, we were talking a little bit, or I was talking a little bit, about using Periscope and Twitter. Were you familiar with that at all?
I've seen Periscope. I haven't really delved into that much. But, going to that point, when I was a commodity broker for the last 5 years that I was doing that, I worked out of my home, and I was kind of cocooned. I missed that social interaction, and I think as humans, we need to have some physical social interaction with each other. And today,
well, that's where social media actually takes you to. There's a lot of there's a lot of competition for attention, and so those who learn how to master that ability to take someone from online to offline and show up at your business, that's a real skill. World Futures Society, I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they kind of look out and see what's coming up, and they had a listing of the jobs that are going to be available for 2030. And one of those was an avatar manager, which is basically, your digital image. So these things are up and coming.
But George, I'd like to take George back to the present, 2016 or 2017. Do I need to have a lot of skill to be able to be in the framing business? Or, do I need to have a lot of business background and knowledge?
No. No, you don't. Again, what I said earlier about being sociable, liking to interact with others, having some basic math skills, and that's pretty much it. And being able to follow a system.
And so basically, this is a system that you developed over the years that is kind of, I shouldn't say foolproof, but is easy to use and easy to understand and learn.
Yeah, because it was developed in real world. you're not formally trained in something, you don't have any guidelines, but you also have no limitations. And so I explored through this and worked through all the different aspects of it from the ground up, and developed these concepts and innovations.
And that's kind of a fun place to come from, and you know, the capacity to be able to do that.
Yeah, and particularly this industry uses an antiquated distribution system, so it was ripe for someone to come along and to
low-hanging fruit, huh?
Yeah, and so I've taken on the mantle of being that person to change this industry.
So where can people learn more about it?
Well, FancyArtNFP.com is our company website, and then in a more general term, they can go to FranchiseUniversity.com. The U is spelled Y-O-U, and there they can take the free course that will go through all the different aspects of going into business, and it's general in nature, so whether they choose ours or something else, it will give them good information to help them make smart choices for themselves.
And if you didn't get a chance to write that down, we'll have it on our Two Small Biz Guys website tomorrow morning.
So when they go through all this, they don't feel like they're being framed. Is that it?
You know what?
They don't feel like they're being framed. They only feel like they can see themselves in the picture.
No, we help them frame their future.
They help frame their future.
There you go. You got some competition there, Ray.
Yeah, I can see that's a good line. Frame their future.
I'm getting into the groove of this.
Right. Well, you know, we can all be very punny, and life is about metaphors, right? Stories and metaphors, and how we learn and grow together, and learn how to get along and help each other and grow our businesses together, sharing knowledge and wisdom from what we've learned and the headaches that we've had and how we've worked through them, and how we can then in turn share that with others and help them.
And enjoy what we're doing.
That's
absolutely.
Right. You should have fun. How important is location in the framing business?
Location.
Yes, location is very important. You want to be in an area where there's good population density. You want to be in an area that's enough scale community that that what I said earlier, where they appreciate the finer things of life, so.
Now, do you offer finder's fees?
Finder's fees?
Yeah,
for what?
if somebody refers a potential franchisee to you.
We don't do that.
Okay. Thought maybe somebody might want to know.
Well, you never know.
Yeah.
George, you mentioned earlier that you have 10,000 pictures.
10,000 pictures at each of our galleries, yes.
Wow. So
everything from $5 to $10,000. So there's something for every taste and every budget.
So how do you find out? I mean, do you help people select what those? I'm not talking about the customer, but if a person's a franchisee, do you have sources where they can get these pictures so they can have the inventory?
Oh yeah, we buy from major publishers all over the globe, and but the interesting thing, even though we have 10,000 artworks in each of the galleries, more often than not, at least with the galleries we have now, people will bring things into us that they've gotten elsewhere. And somebody once said to me, "Who wants to buy art 2 or 3 blocks away from where you live?" And I thought about that, and it has a bit of truth to it. It's nice to have a story behind something. I got this when I was in Italy, or something like that. So many times people will bring in things, and often too, they don't just bring in one thing at a time. Many times they'll bring in 10, 15, or 20 pieces at a time. You buy things and you put it under the bed or in the closet, and then something comes along that sparks. It might be relatives coming over or a special occasion or whatever, and you want to dress everything up, so you pull everything out from the closet and you bring it to your framer and have
that takes coming out of the closet to a new level.
So is it really necessary to have all that inventory to be in this business, or is it you depend mostly on people bringing in art?
You know, I think it is necessary. Most frame shops, I'm sure you're aware, are very small. They're poorly merchandised. We have 200 artworks framed in each of our galleries, and it inspires people. It gives them ideas of the types of things that they can create for themselves, and it shows them different treatments, how things are done. So you have to have a certain ambiance to put people in the proper mood where they want to do something.
Sure. Speaking of treatments and ambiance, proper mood, what could you offer to potential franchisees that would, let's say, maybe be a most important feature to look for in what they're doing? You had the 5 points earlier, but what do you consider to be the most important? And we're just about out of time, too, so we'll head out with this one.
Well, I think the most important thing is lifestyle. You know, you can buy a quick service restaurant. I mentioned that earlier, but you have to have 15, 20 employees. You've got your help is turning over all the time. You're working on very slight margins. You have spoilage. You have slippage. Lots of problems. And with this, it's a pleasant lifestyle. As I mentioned, you're surrounded by beautiful artwork and soft music. It's an easy, relaxed relationship that you have with your customers. And I'll stop there.
Well, you could go on for a little bit. We've got a few more seconds. Well, George, okay. I really appreciate you being on the show with us. And Ray, any last words of wisdom?
No, I just learned a lot about lifestyle and why it's easier and why it makes it a person can have a comfortable living both on the job and off the job.
And it really does make sense to step up, live the kind of life you want, enjoy the beauty of the world around you, and share it everywhere, especially on your walls. How's that for a framing? We'll see you next week.
I enjoyed being with you guys.
Thanks.